We're back. It's the Tuesday Night Crit presented by TurboVelo in Richardson, Texas. It's Series 6, the very last series. Race number 2, and immediately we have an attack. I got 9th place in the last race. My team, Cheney Windows and Doors, got 1st place in the last race, so we're leading the series with 10 points with Andy, and I'm in the front row in the call-ups as someone that has points going into the second race. Immediately we have an attack. Cadence, Pegasus, and my teammate, Adam, 5-time national champion, I'm obligated and contracted to say that, are off the front. And Adam, a little bit of a hesitation there for a moment. So he's having to, he's not on a wheel getting pulled up, but he is chasing after those two guys. And there's this immediate attack. We had a very large field going into this race. It was much cooler than normal with a cold front that came in and the wind coming from the north. There's Matt Stevens. He has a teammate up the road, but he has the confidence that he can get up to that break and not tow anyone with him. Matt Stevens, most famous for winning Dirty Kanza. And at this rate, his wife, Lauren, is getting perhaps just as famous. She was competing in the Elite Women World Championship as a member of the United States team just recently. So immediately we see here in front of me two teammates, and you might notice one of my teammates with the U.S. national flag on his jersey. We're very proud to say on our team, Cheney Windows and Doors, that Ryan is now a national champion. He just came back from the National Championships Masters track in the team pursuit, his first national champion. So we've added yet another national champion to our ranks. Very proud of his efforts. And you might be saying, this is a crit, this isn't the track. Why is he wearing his jersey? Well, according to USAC rules, the promoter has discretion to allow people to wear a national championship jersey that is not of that particular discipline. And as it happens, Ryan is the promoter. So he gave himself permission. And in fact, he gives other people permission as well. It's good to promote the crit that way. It's good to promote racing. It makes people more excited to race. Here we see Adam fading to the back. That attack of 3 did not get away, and we can see that it's immediately hard. Guys going hard here. Now the wind is from the north, so that means the wind is blowing from the right to the left. It is the left side that is the guttered position, so these guys riding on the right, they are taking up the wind there, and we are being sheltered by being on the left. And here we're getting a tailwind. Usually we don't have a tailwind here in summer. It's usually a big headwind in this section, or a cross headwind. Now we have a cross tail. So this is just second lap, and we're really going hard here. People are on the rivet. In terms of the number of starters in this race, we had 41 starters, or is that 43 starters? I believe that's 43 starters. So a lot of participation in this race today. That's an excellent showing, and I think that really, it's really great that people are coming out to support the crit. DFW used to have 4 different crits. We're now down to 1. This is the only weeknight crit left. So if we want it to keep going, we need to support it. And people are supporting it, and it's been a great season. We see up on the front here, here's some action. And I'm just hanging out in the back here, trying to get a little bit of a draft. Again, the draft will be on the right side, and so as people are riding to the far right, they are in the gutter. And here's Andrew on the Bike Mart team right in front of me. Andrew is a very crafty, strong rider, and he'll have a role to play in this race. All the hitters were out tonight. Well, most of the hitters. There's a couple of exceptions. But, a couple of exceptions of guys who are just focusing on the A race. But this was a very strong field. Might have been the strongest field of the entire season. Here we have another attack. So I was on the outside, and it seemed like I had a pretty good position here to try to follow this. Now, my job here is to support my teammate. I'm not looking for a result for myself. I have 1 point. Andy on my team, he has 10 points. And this rider here, on the front, Cadence, I believe this is Mark Weir with Brent right behind him, Andrew right in front of me. And he's riding on the right, so he's not guttering the group. That means the rest of us here can get a draft. And ideally, as we're getting a draft, he's hoping that we will pull through. Now, I'm going to this right here. And we do have a pretty significant gap, not a huge gap, but a significant gap where if we had pulled through, if Brent had pulled through, these riders in front of me had pulled through, I think we'd have held it off for longer. And there was a guy in back of me yelling like, go through, pull through, keep going. But I, myself, had zero intention of pulling through. I am on this break to control the break. I don't want this to be the break. If this were the break, Cadence would be in good position to score points, and we would take a lot of the points, but and it might be like status quo going into the next race. But really what I'm thinking about is I want Andy to be in the winning break. That's what I want. And I want Andy's competitors not to be in a winning break. So I am just sitting on, and that's my strategy. And I think at this point they are onto us. So this is not a successful breakaway, but my role here is in controlling the breaks that we don't want to go away. So if they're going to go away, they're going to pull me, if I can, assuming I can stay on, they're going to pull me the whole way. And here we have Chad on Cadence. He's one of the threats. He didn't race last week, so he doesn't have any points. There we see another attack from Matt Stevens. And again, he's kind of at a different level than most of the rest of us in the race here. And we see that Cadence was in good position there, and it's Cadence and Pegasus. The three major teams in this race are Cadence, Pegasus, and us, Cheney Windows and Door, with some representation in this race from Bike Mart. Bike Mart has not always been coming out. So that's a threatening breakaway, since two of the major teams are represented. And I felt like it was my responsibility here to do some work to try to bring this back. Now, I'm very used to this wind coming from the south, and here I am riding on the left, not even realizing I'm guttering the group. So I didn't intend or want to gutter the group. When I went back and looked at another video that Sam was further back at this particular moment, and two guys off the front here, but Matt Stevens going away, he can win solo. So when I realized I was guttering the group, I moved over to the right so that I can give a draft to folks behind me, because I want them to have enough energy to go through. And so this is a major threat. I want to control it, and I'm on the front. I've already told you guys I hate being on the front. It's not my natural instinct to do any work other than to sprint at the end. But I want to control this. And as it turned out, my teammate Andy, there was a gap. I guess I went hard enough to open up a gap. Our guy sat up. Here's Kato right in front of me here on Pegasus. He's the guy that we want to watch. He was in the top 4 last week, so he's big on the points. There goes Sean. There goes my teammate Andy. But I was going to say that Andy actually got gapped and bridged up to us here and then attacked over the top. So that was kind of perfect in my mind. We've got Andy off the front. And that's what we want. We want Andy in a breakaway. We want Andy to be in a breakaway where he is not outnumbered, outgunned. And we had a situation last week where Andy was in a breakaway of 5, but he was in a breakaway where he didn't have a teammate in the break, and 2 teams were represented in the break in addition to him, and they both had 2 riders. That was not ideal because it was 2v2v1, but he still won even though he was outnumbered. And if you are not in the breakaway, if your team is not represented in the breakaway right this moment, you better be on the rivet, you better be going, because the race could be over very soon. Because if we like this breakaway, we're going to control it. Cadence is going to control it. Cheney Windows and Doors is going to control it, and Pegasus may try to control it. However, I think we made a mistake as a team here. I don't think anyone in particular made a mistake on our team, but what we really need is for our guy not to be outnumbered in the break, or not substantially outnumbered. We really need to have a teammate with him in the breakaway when other teams have multiple guys in the breakaway. Pack, not in the breakaway here. This is Steve Dodge to my left. So he's someone that, his team would have a responsibility here to pull this breakaway back. Guys that don't have any teammates, they're not in the break. This is panic time if you have any expectation of being on the podium or getting a good place. I didn't mention that John Bain is in this race. John Bain on Cadence. He's the winner of the Fair Park Crit many, many times in the A race. So he's definitely a big hitter. He's won this race, the 40 plus this season. And if he's in a break, the suspicion is that he's going to win because he's an excellent sprinter. So the break going away here has 3 cadence riders, our rider, and 2 Pegasus riders, Sean and Matt Stevens. The cadence riders are Chad, the actual owner of Cadence Cyclery, Louise, who got 3rd place, I believe, last week, so he's up there in the points, and John Bain, who's a threat to win. Definitely a threat to win in any sprint finish, and definitely a threat to win from a smaller breakaway. Now at this point, I've done a little work. I was like in a breakaway for 30 seconds. I controlled the gap to Matt Stevens. Arguably, we can say that helped my teammate, although he should have been on the wheels and not gapped, but he's strong enough to overcome that, to pull guys up, cross the gap, and attack and go over the top and establish himself in the breakaway. That's strength. So I'm a little bit gassed, and it's time for me to recharge the batteries. My MPA in the bottom left-hand corner, that stands for maximum power available for those of you that use Exert, the Exert system. That indicates how much power I have at any given moment. And anytime my MPA is below the maximum, that means that I've dipped into my reserves, I've gone over my threshold, and I'm somewhat fatigued. If that number is like 1330, that means I'm not particularly fatigued. And the more I rest, the more that number goes up. So if you want to kind of get a feel for how fatigued I am at any minute, you can look at that number. The lower it goes, the more fatigued I am. Now this is a short race. All the Masters races are short. It's kind of thought to be an hors d'oeuvre between the B race and the A race. The A race being Cat 1, 2, and 3. But I find that with my current level of fitness, it's really hard to do this race and then just jump into an attack on the first lap on the A race. Really difficult. That's why some of the fast 40 plus like Breen, he's focusing on the A race currently, and he's won the series a couple times, I think, this year in the 40 plus. Jimmy in front of me on pack, his teammate up ahead. I could just glimpse him in the red jersey. Bobby with the big beard. I think we talked maybe last week about Bobby guttering the group when he's trying to pull the group to the break. Well, I noticed that he was on the front at some point here, and he definitely was not in the gutter. So he did it correctly, if we want to call it that. Again, this is partly a game of chicken sometimes when you have these crosswinds. How close do you want to ride to the very edge of the concrete? You might go into the grass if you're not careful. My teammate Adam there on the right, he told me after the race that first attack, maybe not properly warmed, but having to do a full-on sprint, just gassed him, and didn't really have the legs for the rest of the race. There goes Bobby up there on the far left, putting in a little dig. And he's definitely in the non-guttering position there as he moves closer to the front. Jason Bradbury, right here in front of me on reunion, trying to keep his streak of top 11s in the 40 plus in place as he heads into this race. Here we're going into a headwind, so this is like, if you think about this final sprint here, we're going over here, it's a little bit uphill, just a little bit, and this time we have both a headwind and a cross headwind, and the guttered positions on the left. So that's something that theoretically, if you're participating in a sprint, you need to be aware of and thinking, like how long do I stay in the draft versus I attack and put in my effort and push, and what should my position be going into the sprint? Now that's foreshadowing. This is Rhett. Rhett's a really strong rider. Done many wattage rides up in McKinney with him, and again, I'm marking him. Rhett, I don't think he had any teammates on United. Here's Chris Lee on Cadence on the far left with Bobby on his wheel. Chris used to be on pack, so we used to be teammates when I was on pack. Chris has done a lot of training this year. He's on great form. He has a top 5 recently in the 40-plus crit here in the Tuesday Night Crit. And observing Chris in this race, I'll tell you again, he foreshadowing. We see that wheel, kind of slip a little bit. We're going a lot faster through that dip than we normally do because we're usually facing a headwind. So guys aren't used to going through that dip over 30 miles an hour. Gotta control your wheels. No one crashed. And I didn't find that it was difficult. Of course, I'm big and fat. So again, I'm here. Bobby's in. This is what I was talking about. Bobby not guttering the group. He's giving everyone a draft behind him, at least the ones that can fit into this echelon. And I'm just third wheel marking this. I'm pretty sure that this breakaway of 7 is going to get away and that we won't have the firepower to get there. But you can see that they've gone around the left there. They're not that far. Maybe they're like, I don't know, 20 seconds ahead, maybe less. And there's Ryan there, a little tiny dig off the front. Maybe he's just testing things, putting in a little feint, but quickly marked by Joel on cadence, and Rhett in turn closing the gap there. Me, I'm perfectly content to let Bobby close this. So the breakaway up ahead, it's not that far off. Someone could be tempted and possibly be successful closing down that break. So for those of us that want this break to go away like our team, we should try to control this, and that's what the major teams are doing here. Now, Mark Weir here, he's got 3 guys in the break, but he's attacking. But the important thing for his team's purpose is that he is not taking anyone with him. Now, we could argue, is he motivating people to chase after him and close this down? And could that ruin the break? Possibly. He's taking that risk. That's one thing. Cadence had such a big team here that there's going to be some competition about who gets in the break. They have so much talent on their team that when you're on a team with 15 guys in the race, who's actually gonna be in the breakaway can be a point of contention. This rider on the right, sorry, I don't know his name, but I quickly got on his wheel, and that dissuaded him very quickly in terms of putting in effort. But Rhett, see, he doesn't want to take anyone either. He waits a moment, picks his moment, but boom, guys are right on him. I don't need to chase that. Plenty of other guys to chase that. I'm going to let this acceleration go, drift to the back, see where I can slot in, get back into the draft, and I will move up when it's convenient and easy to do so. No sense in me putting in effort here, but I need to get on the wheel. You can see we are in the crosswind here, and I'm not on the wheel. I'm going over 400 watts, 500 watts, 600 watts. Not ideal. So, I got to rest into that headwind, with that tailwind. But now I'm paying the price in the crosswind, in the gutter, on the very back, but quickly on the wheel. So all those little digs that you do, you pay a price for that. If you don't have to do that, you have more energy when you need it, whether it's a breakaway attempt, bridging, whatever, sprint, lead out, whatever. Usually my job at the end here is to do a lead out for my teammates during the last lap. And that's on my mind, that I might be doing that. That might be foreshadowing. All right, into the headwind. So now we can rest a little bit if no one's really going. The guys start going a little bit. Coming out of that headwind into the cross headwind. And with an MPA at 12:39 or so, I'm not super fatigued, but my legs are not fresh either. And we're playing a game of chicken here of who can ride closest to the edge of the concrete to get a little bit of a draft. Luckily, Jimmy to the right a little bit, giving me a little bit of a draft here. I need to fix my hood. My right hood is messed up. It's like top of it's popping off and it's not very aero, and I'm like fixing with my hand in the race. So, I was in the very back. Try to move up when I can, when it's not too hard, when I don't have to put in too much effort. Here's Cato in front of me, the guy I considered I thought of him as a non-sprinter, even though I haven't really raced with him much, just because I don't usually see him participate in the sprint. But he's already shown to us this season with winning a field sprint against some strong guys, including my teammates, that he is a fully capable sprinter. That might be foreshadowing as well. But you can see these little gaps on the front. You know, guys are having to pick their moments of when they go, when they put in their efforts. You know, should I put my effort into the tailwind, into the crosswind, into the headwind? In the headwind, usually lots of guys are getting rest, right? Because they're behind other people. But in the tailwind, guys are not getting much rest, and certainly in the crosswinds, guys are usually not getting rest. So, kind of gotta. But however, with the headwind, the person on the very front may not. You know, it's a game of chicken there too. Who's going to do the effort? Someone's got to pay the price. Such a big field, though. So many guys, so many teammates. There's going to be someone putting in an effort for their team. At some point here, Andrew goes. And I saw him go in real time, you know, in the race. But I don't know if he's already gone. So, you know, sometimes it's actually harder to see things on the video than it is in real time, because the people in the front are so small in the video. It's like in real life they're larger, or at least easier to appreciate and see and recognize, especially with this 1080p. I could be running 4K, but too much memory. It's a lot of you know, money and computer space to do those 4K videos when you only get 100 views, so not worth it for me. I guess this is Mark right in front of me. He's the one that put in that dig going up the right side. He's back with us. RG there on the left. RG crafty with his attacks. It's like that guy that's just waiting for the right moment to put in a little crafty attack. Seen it many times. Teammate Ryan on the right in his national champion jersey. Brent in front of me, the big cat. Recent winner of the Police and Fire World Championship time trial in Canada. I mean, the list of guys who've done amazing things on the bike, you know, is quite long in this race. But that's not to say you have to be some kind of elite wonderkind to be in this race. You certainly don't. You need to have a certain level of fitness, of course. But me, I'm just basically a rec rider with a few years of amateur crit experience. I'm nothing particularly special. So don't, if you're watching this and you're a beginner, don't think that like, oh, I gotta be like, you know, some amazing world-class athlete to do this. No, you don't have to be a world-class athlete. You just have to put in the time and be smart and learn your craft and have a certain level of fitness. But if you keep at it, I think, you know, I mean, you can do it. Not immediately, not, you know, in 1 minute. You know, we have like a beginner on our team and he's getting dropped in this race, so, you know, but he's learning each time, and as he goes he'll progress and get stronger and learn more. I've mentioned in my videos that not been very impressed with my fitness, my power, my numbers. Is that Chris on cadence kind of putting in a dig there? How far into this are we? We're getting near the end here. I think we're what? Is this the last lap? I need to pay attention more here. Get carried away talking. We're getting close to the end. Yeah, I think this is 1 lap to go. Let's listen for the bell. Because, yeah, I think Chris put an attack there just before the last lap. Let's look for the numbers here. Yeah, there's the bell. So we're on the last lap. Now, in just a minute, I'm going to roll up to Ryan, my teammate here, and I'm going to ask him, what are we doing? What do you want me to do? And he says, I'm working for you guys. And so that suggested to me that I was not going to be, you know, putting in a pull for my teammates necessarily, but maybe he would be doing that for me, and I'm going to try to be a little more tactical and conserve my energy for an effort to actually put in, you know, put in a good finish. In other words, I'm going to try to win, or be the last person that helps my teammate win. Bobby there on the left. So you can see these early attacks. And Bobby, with the tailwind, it's a good time to attack. Everyone having to do some work, even though we are getting a draft. I'm following my teammate here. Got to be careful there with guys, popping out of the draft, want to attack, get on. Another attack here. RG, Crafty, Rhett going behind him. My teammate, Jorge, smarting on the wheels. Jorge's a very smart, crafty rider himself. He's always in the right place. I'm on the Big Cat's wheel. Here we are in the back. And I'm not in great position. No, here we are with less than half mile to go before the finish. But I also, I know Brent is just not going to sit up. At least I'm hoping he's not. And I think Brent can compete. He's going to get right back on the wheel. And I'm in a great draft. He's a big guy. And I'm going to be patient. Part of a sprint is being patient. Now look how far back I am, how far, there's a lot of riders in front of me. Am I really in a position to win this field sprint for 8th? Brent goes. Perfect opportunity for me to try to jump on his wheel. Guys are sitting up, some coasting there, and we go through this dip, and I'm right on his wheel. And last time I got pushed out to the right in the corner, and had to stop pedaling. That hurt my sprint. This time I'm not going to let that happen. I push here on the inside, and I wish I was thinking, hey, I'm going to ride on the far left. I wasn't smart enough to think that, but I ended up kind of doing that anyway, and pushing here for 8th as hard as I can. Kato was on my wheel. I know that afterwards because I've seen Sam's video. He finished just under about over a second behind me. So pretty close, but me and him gapped just about everyone else pretty well. And I got 8th. So let's talk about what happened with my teammate. He was in the breakaway of 7. Andy, he's leading the series with 10 points. But he is outnumbered in the breakaway. There are 2. Andrew got up to the break, which is a great effort. And we had 3 Cadence and 2 Pegasus riders in that breakaway as well. So 7 guys. And I wouldn't have favored Andy to win that with John Bain in the race, because John Bain's an excellent sprinter. As it turns out, I think Bain only got 4th. But what happened was they attacked him, and it was his responsibility, Andy's responsibility, to pull it back. He pulled it back, but he said he was going so fast they set up. He solo attacked over the top. If people are attacking you, maybe a strategy is to attack them over the top. He does that. And, the big engine, Dirty Kanza winner, Matt Stevens, pulls back up to him and just rockets those other 6 guys right past him, and he couldn't jump on the wheel. So those 6 guys all finished ahead of him. So unfortunately, he got 7th. We could argue that he could have gotten 7th if he had just stayed in our group and we had done a lead out for him. So a little bit disappointing that he ends up 7th out of the break. I know he was disappointed, but he was also outnumbered, and while he outfoxed them last time, this time he didn't. And so that was a significant blow to our chances to win the series, but we'll still fight it out and try to win and work for our teammate Andy there. He's I guess at 7th place, maybe he gets 1 point. I'm not sure. So he might be at 11 points, 12 points. But anyway, there are 2 riders ahead of him in the series now. And we're going to have to fight back to win, just like we did last time. We just had that miracle win against Pegasus where every single thing had to go right. And we did, and we won by 1 point. So now we're behind the 8 ball here. We got to figure this out. But I was happy with my power numbers. This was the first time that I'd won a field sprint in the 40+ this whole season. I'm not going to pretend that everyone who was back there was competing and trying to win it, for 8th place, but it still feels good anyway. Good power numbers, significant breakthrough on my exert signature, which indicates that my fitness has gone up, or it's appreciating that my fitness has gone up. So I thought it was a good race for me tactically, what I did, my choices. My one different choice would have been if I could have gotten onto Andrew's wheel and had him pull me up to the break. Just not been aggressive enough in thinking about the possibility of getting into the break. I've got other strong teammates, but maybe that's something I have to think about in the last 2 races, of being a little more aggressive, like jumping on wheels like that and letting guys pull me up to the break if they will. So anyway, that's it. So appreciate your guys' support and comments. I get mostly comments in person rather than comments on YouTube. But it's been a fun series so far. Fun, safe racing, and great to work with teammates and work for team efforts. That's the most fun part with our team, with good camaraderie on Cheney windows and doors, and I think the other teams have good camaraderie too. So This team versus team action makes it a lot of fun. I'll catch you guys next time.